Hello students, today we will study the poem Crossing the Bar by a British Victorian poet Alfred Lord Tennyson. Alfred Lord Tennyson wrote this poem in 1889 and at that time he was 80 years old and he died at the age of 83. So 3 years before his death he wrote this poem. Now when a person is 80 years old, usually he thinks about his death. So what does Alfred Lord Tennyson say in this poem about death? That we will see in detail. This poem is also said to be an allegory. Allegory means a poem which has some hidden meaning, a symbolic meaning. So almost every line in this poem has a literal meaning and a symbolic meaning. In this poem, the title says Crossing the Bar. Bar is used as a metaphor. Okay, how? Let's see. Supposing this is sea and land. And this is a sandbar. What is a sandbar? Sandbar is a raised area of sand made by the fast moving waves along a seashore. Okay, so this is a sandbar made by the waves. So this sandbar indicates the boundary between life and death. So let's see, the sea is death and land is life. So Alfred Lord Tennyson is alive, he is 80 years old. After 3 years he will die. So he says that he is going on a sea voyage, on a sea journey. Means he is going to die and the journey after death, what happens, that will begin. So this sandbar is a metaphor which is compared to a boundary between life and death. Then let's see the theme of this poem. The theme says, accept and embrace death rather than fearing the dark unknown death. So Alfred Lord Tennyson is an old man when he wrote this poem, but he says that we should not be afraid of death. So one has lived the life to the fullest and now when one dies, one will get to see God face to face. That is the belief. Okay, so he says that he will see his pilot. That is when he will die, he will go in the ship and there he will see the pilot. Pilot is usually in the aeroplanes, but here it refers in the ship also. In the ship also we have pilot, one who guides the ship. So here pilot symbolizes God. The poet says that after death he will see God face to face and that makes him happy to die. So he has no sadness that he is going to die and he wants others also should not be sad after he dies. Okay, let's see the poem in detail. Sunset and evening star. Okay, so let's see the literal meaning first. The poet says it is sunset time, means late evening. And the evening star can be seen in the sky. What is the evening star? Venus. So Venus can be seen in the sky. It is sunset time, late evening time. And one clear call for me. So the bell is rung. So the poet is going to start his sea voyage, sea journey. And he has to board in the ship. So the bell is rung. That is the final call for all the passengers to come and board in the ship. So he says the bell has been rung. And may there be no moaning of the bar. Moaning means expression of pain or cry. So may there be no one crying on the bar, that is the sandbar, when I put out to sea. Put out means leave. So when I leave for the sea journey, when I start my sea journey, when I leave the land, I don't want any of my near and dear ones to moan or cry for me. Okay, this is the literal meaning. Let's see the symbolic meaning. So here sunset indicates old age and evening star means impending death. Impending means about to happen. So the poet says that he is in his old age, he is only 80 years old. Then his death is about to come, anytime he can die. He says sunset and evening star, that is, he is in his old age, he can die anytime. And one clear call for me. So one clear call means knell, that is funeral bell or reminder of death. So he says he can hear his funeral bell, that the bell is rung, that any time he can die. And may there be no mourning of the bar. Okay, so bar indicates the boundary between life and death. So when he leaves his life and starts his journey after death, then may there be no one crying for him. His relatives, his friends, his family members. He says no one should be crying for me, mourning for me when I die. When I put out to sea, sea means death. So when I die, I don't want any of my family members or relatives or friends to mourn or cry for me. So this is the symbolic meaning of the first stanza. Let's see the second stanza. But such a tide as moving seems asleep. So he says what type of tide, the waves he wants when he goes for a sea journey. He doesn't want high tides and storm or tempest or like that. He says such a tide means he wants that the sea waves, tide means sea waves, as moving seems asleep, as if they are sleeping, means the movement of the waves should be very gentle, as if they are sleeping. Too full for sound and foam means he wants no sound to be created by the waves. So he says no sound and no foam should be produced by the waves. Means the waves movement should be very gentle. The sea journey should be very smooth. When that means the tide, the sea waves, when the sea waves which drew from out the boundless deep, when the waves that come out from the boundless deep, that is the deep sea. So the waves that come from the deep sea to the shore turns again home and goes back to the sea. So this process of waves, the cycle of waves, that they come from the sea to the shore and then they go back to the sea. This represents the cycle of the waves. The life of the wave is very short. Let's say for a few seconds only. They rise from the depth of the sea, go to the shore, make some sound over there and then they come back to the sea. This is the life cycle of the waves and it keeps happening. So he says when this happens, when the waves come from the depth of the sea, goes to the shore and come back, at that time they should not be high waves and they should not create much sound also. This is the literal meaning. Let's see the symbolic meaning. Okay, here tide means the experience of dying. So just like the waves, he says, should be a sleeping. It should seem as if the waves are sleeping. In the same way he says that his death should be very gentle. Means it should not be painful. It should not make him suffer a lot. It should be very gentle, as if while sleeping he dies. So he says when he does his sea journey, the movement of waves should be gentle. The same way he says when he dies, that experience should be very gentle. Too full for sound and foam means there should not be cry of pain from his side. He should not be making any sound while dying. So the death should be so gentle that no sound is made. So poet says, when that which drew out from out the boundless deep, means the tide that comes from the sea to the shore, means the soul. The poet says that this home is cycle of birth and death. So this soul comes from heaven, comes into the human body. After death, this soul goes back. So when this cycle happens, that is when his soul leaves the body. So when that means the soul, the symbolic meaning. When her soul leaves the body, turns again home and goes back to heaven, at that time he wants the process to be very gentle. No pain, no suffering when he dies. In the third stanza, the poet says, twilight and evening bell. Twilight, that is the starlight. It is late evening time, the stars can be seen in the sky. And evening bell is also rung. So it's evening time, evening bell rings in the church. And after that, the dark. So after late evening, what comes? Night. So after, it's already late evening, after this there will be complete darkness. Night time will arrive. And may there be no sadness of farewell. So he warns that people should not be sad while bidding him bye-bye. When I embark, when I get into the ship. The poet says that when he starts his sea journey, he does not want the people to be sad. He wants them to bid him bye-bye happily, cheerfully. Let's see the symbolic meaning. So twilight here represents old age. Okay, the poet says twilight and evening bell, that is the funeral bell, knell. So it is the same as the first line of the first stanza, sunset and evening star, twilight and evening bell. Almost the same meaning. Means it is his old age, he can hear the funeral bell, and after that the dark here means death. So it's already his old age, and after this what comes? Death. And may there be no sadness of farewell. So when I embark means die. So it says when he dies, he does not want people to be sad after his death. In the fourth stanza, the poet says, from out, our bond of time and place. From though means from beyond. From out means limits. From the limits, our bond means boundary. From the limits, from the boundary of time and place. So there is no restriction of time and place. When and where, no restriction. You're free to move anytime, anywhere after when you start your sea journey. It's all water. It says in the sea journey there is no restriction of time and place. The flood may bear me far. Flood here means sea. The sea will bear means carry me far away. I hope to see my pilot face to face. Pilot here means one who guides the ship. First we are seeing the literal meaning. So the one who guides the ship. So he says, I will meet the captain of the ship, the pilot of the ship, when I have crossed the bar. After crossing the sandbar, I will see my captain of the ship, and that ship will take me far away in water where there will be no restriction of time or place. Okay, now let's see the symbolic meaning. Time and place shows eternity. Okay, eternity means no restriction. So he says after the death, there will be no restriction of time or place. Beyond the limits of time and place. So after death, he will not have any type of restriction on him. The flood may bear me far. So here flood means death. Death will take him to a long journey, far away from this earth, far away from this land. He says that journey which he will start after his death will take him far away where there will be no restriction of time or place. I hope to see my pilot face to face. Here pilot means God or creator. So this is what is giving the happiness to the poet. That why is he not sad to die? Because he will see God face to face, the creator face to face. When I have crossed the bar, means after death, after crossing the sandbar, that is after crossing the boundary of life and death. When he will die, he will get to see God. And this is the reason why he is not sad, and he wants others also not to be sad after his death.